All right, everyone. Well, welcome to Mazske Finance. And once again, I have a very special guest with me here today. And you're going to like this interview a lot, I think. It's not an interview. We're just going to chat. But the gentleman I have is Michael Zuber from One Rental at a Time. So, Mike, go ahead and say hi to everyone.
Hello, everyone. How you doing today?
All right. Sounds good. Well, we'll get this going, Mike, if you want. And if you want to kind of share who Mike is and where you came from in life and kind of lead it up to when you first got into real estate.
Yeah, so my story of getting into real estate really starts with probably the traditional rat race, right? I went to school because, in my opinion, when I had to make that decision, it was the path to a better future. I had to pay for my college education, which meant I went to a junior college first before transferring. Graduated with an econ degree. Then went to work and was told that in order to make more money, I needed a master's degree. I did not question it. I believed it. And so I went back and got a master's degree in finance, business administration, an MBA. Along the way, I was able to save a little bit of money, about $7,000 total, which I used to invest in the stock market. I'm old enough to remember the .com craziness up close and personal. And it was a lot of fun. I turned $7,000 into almost 200, ultimately losing most of that because I called myself an investor, but I was truly a speculator, or maybe even worse, a gambler. And I did not recognize that fact. I would have saved myself a lot of stress and sleepless nights if I just would have acknowledged that being a speculator is okay. You just got to acknowledge it. You know, if you're going to be it. Don't do what I did. Call yourself an investor and be a speculator. It doesn't end well. And I lost $150,000 or more money than my family had ever seen, and 80% of my net worth in a very short amount of time because I got cocky and foolish. And that is the defeated and depressed state I found myself in before I turned to real estate.
So, all right, that's interesting because I've heard you say that before. Because you and I think, both started investing in individual stocks around the same time, probably 1999. And I was the opposite. I was like a buy and hold long-term investor. But in hindsight, it would have been nice if I had jumped on the trading wagon like you did to build up my dollars and then switched over to buy and hold. But we can't turn back the hands of time to do that.
Yeah. No, it was. Again, I would call my first investments. I emulated what I believe to be Warren Buffett. Buy and hold, read the financial statements, buy good companies, buy little slivers. That's what I did. And then living in the Silicon Valley around all this energy and tech, right? I knew people, for example, at Google before Google was public. I went to Google, I think there were 29 or 39 employees. Right. I was in this mix of the .com, right? Right down the 101, there was like 7 search engines and who knew who was going to. So I was here. So I started it as an investor, but no, it was very much a trader. And I owned being a trader for a while, but then you get cocky. I remember vividly, we took a trip to Hawaii, and we made a trade before breakfast. We came back after breakfast, which was probably 90 minutes or something. And we'd made like $12,000 or $11,000 or something like that. That was the environment we were in. You almost couldn't lose. So we built a decent stack and then didn't realize the bull market had turned into a bear market that was really nasty. I tried to fight the trend. I tried to move stuff around and didn't work out.
Right. I understand that completely because even though I was buy and hold, I watched my portfolio start be all green, skyrocketing up. And I was telling coworkers, hey, look at this. Look what I've done. But at the same time, then I watched it all just come back down. Yeah. And in hindsight, knowing what I know now, if I had taken my small little nest egg, I would have started in real estate back then, like you did. But if you want to, go ahead and tell us how you got interested in real estate and maybe tell us about your first deal and where that's led to.
Yeah. So again, you got to remember, I'm really depressed. I'm now 30 years old. I just lost more money than my family had ever seen. And I walk into a bookstore and I find the book I find it, I see a book on a bookshelf, it's purple. If you know me at all, that happens to be my favorite color. So of course I pick up the book, and it is none other than Rich Dad Poor Dad. Rich Dad Poor Dad, I bought it that day. I read it 12 times in a row because I traveled for my job, and it was just how I comforted or relaxed on an airplane. And, Rich Dad Poor Dad is not a how-to book. It's a mindset book. It's a book on accounting. And again, I'd already shared, I'd had an advanced degree, econ degree, done all this numbers. I'm very comfortable. And that book shook me to my core and sent me on an entire different trajectory. But now I had to learn how to, because Rich Dad is not a how-to book. There's not one how-to in that book. I went on a book reading bonanza, probably 100, 150 books. And so it started me down real estate. All the books I read said invest near home, 30 minutes from home. I tried that for a year. What a complete waste of time. One of the biggest mistakes of my life. I live in the Silicon Valley. Silicon Valley is not a cash flow market. But every book I read said invest where you live. I wasted a year, man. Very depressing. Ultimately, we pull out the California map. We find Fresno, California. We go down. We learn our market. We create a buy box. We buy our first house, 1818 Norris Drive East. You can look it up on Zillow. And we buy it for 107 grand. Rents for 1,100. It was nothing fancy. Off the MLS, offered asking, 20% down, half my stack because I had 40 grand, and was so excited. Unfortunately, as you know, reading my book, that was the last moment of excitement for about 6 months as the tenant got divorced, decided to never pay, and decided to destroy my property. In California, it takes a while to get people out. And that was a very rough beginning to being a landlord. Because again, I'd never lived in Fresno, didn't know anyone. I was ready to quit. My wife said, "What are you doing?" So she gets kudos for keeping us in the game. And ultimately the story turns out great, but that first tenant really tested us.
Right. I understand completely, because I think I've shared this story to you before, or at least have on my channel. But when I bought my first rental property in 2017, I basically just jumped into it. I didn't read any books. I didn't watch any YouTube channels, but I got lucky that I had a real estate agent help me who was also an investor. So we found a good starter home that was a perfect rental, and we knew what we could rent it for. And it was like a good deal. It wasn't a great deal, but it was a good deal. But when I got my first tenant, I did not know what I was doing. And she flashed cash in front of my eyes, and I fell for it. And a month or two went by when I had to start the eviction process. And that just stressed me out. Emotionally, I was connected to that house because it was my first rental, and it really bothered me. And like you, I was very tempted to quit. And my wife at the time, she was like, maybe we should quit. She was like, Mazske, you're successful in stocks. Maybe you should stick with stocks. But then I was like, well, let me get a different tenant. We'll see what happens. So my story has a happy ending, and I know your story does. So if you want, continue on just a little bit more with your story.
Yeah. So Norris Drive, after being very painful for 5 or 6 months, goes on to be an amazing story. It really has led me to believe, one of my core tenets now, that time in the market beats timing the market. So Norris Drive, right, bought, I think, December of 2002 for 107 grand. Let's just do rough time. So about 2 years after that, we did a cash out refinance, which again is a big part of recycling capital. We were very early, so we were in our growth stage. That $20,000 or thereabouts, whatever it was, we pulled out, became 2 more units. So we pulled out all our cash, then some, bought 2 more units. We have no money in Norris Drive, which, oh, by the way, is another mistake, because now I have an alligator or negative cash flow. Don't do that. I shouldn't have taken out as much, but we have 2 more properties. Fast forward about another 2 years from that, we 1031 Norris Drive into a 5-unit building, which we still own. Those other 2 houses, we 1031, I think, into an 18-unit building that we still have today. So again, time in the market, right? That first $20,000 down, as it sits today, roughly speaking, is about 35 units, 36 units. It's about $500,000 in equity. It's about $100,000 in cash. So we have none of our own money in any of those deals. So infinite return. Time in the market is the key with real estate. It takes time. The first 3 or 4 years are so slow, so hard. It challenges you when you don't necessarily have the reserves, and you just got to get through it. Everybody goes through it. I went through it. You went through it. It gets better, but unfortunately, it might take 3, 4, 5 years before you start seeing it.
Right. I agree with you 100%. And I was at a different stage of my life when I got started, because I was 49 years old when I bought my first rental. And I bought my first one in January, and in December, I bought my second.
Oh, wow.
So it was almost a year. And then 3 or 4 months after that, I bought my triplex. And then it just started speeding up. And I intentionally knew I was older, and I realized by the time I had 5 or 6 units, I realized the cash flow from my rentals, along with mortgage pay down, and I didn't count appreciation, but just cash flow and mortgage pay down, I could grow my wealth much quicker than I could with stocks, even though for 15 years, I averaged 18% a year with stocks. I realized I can do better with real estate. So my story, I intentionally sped it up, where in 4 years, I got up to 25 rentals.
Wow.
Okay.
Much faster than me.
Faster than you, but I was a lot older than you when I started. So
okay. That's great. 25 units in 4 years. That's amazing.
It is. I agree. And what you've done is amazing too. And you don't have to share how many units you have, but kind of fast forward a bit and tell us, since you've retired, what all have you gotten into, and what do you do now?
So retirement came at me faster than I expected, right? So my wife retired like 8 years ago. She was ready, right? When we had the funds, it was easy. I'd always planned to retire at 50. It was just a big round number, something I'd look forward to doing. But I happen to have a sales career and enterprise software sales. It's a career that changes every year. New quota, new product, new patch, all of that. I had just had another blowout year. I'm very good at what I do. And unfortunately, there was a changing of the guard, where the people that were in power weren't in power. And I was given a patch in technology and quota and things that I didn't like. And I can vividly remember in the conference room going, well, I think I'm done. And I remember going to work that day excited, telling Olivia, I can't wait. We just had a great year. We're going to do it again. And I text her on the way back to my desk going, honey, I'm coming home. I'm no longer employed. I'm going to pick up a couple of family photos and I'll be home. Let's go to breakfast. So I did that. That was fun. But I didn't know what I was getting into. I am a type A individual, been wired one way forever. And now I'm retired and I don't know what to do. I am struggling. I'm frankly getting depressed, and I've never been depressed. Even when I lost 150 grand, I wasn't depressed. I was disappointed, right? I let my family down, but I wasn't depressed. Now I'm depressed because I'm up at 6 a.m. I got nothing to do. All my friends can't get out because shoot, they're still working, right? So I didn't know what to do. And then lo and behold, one rental at a time came together. And originally it wasn't a book. It was just a PDF. It was me regurgitating what happened after reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Because again, Rich Dad, Poor Dad doesn't say how. So I wanted to translate, okay, I read it. What did I do? What happened over 15 years? The good and the bad, the mistakes and the wins. And ultimately that PDF, which I think at the time was 80 or 90 pages, people enjoyed it. So I finished it out, became a book. That book led to a YouTube led to a course. And now I spend 2 hours a day, 7 days a week giving back. And it's just enough time to feel like I have positive contribution, because my life is great. By 10 o'clock most days, I'm already on the way home because I'm now in an office. I actually got an office so I can change backgrounds and stuff. But now I'm going home. We go to lunch, work out, do whatever we want, take a nap. And, taking a nap is awesome, let me tell you. So, life's pretty good. But I needed something where I felt I was contributing every day, and one rental at a time is that thing.
Right. Yeah, that sounds good. Because I remember, I've heard your story before, and you probably don't remember this, but when I found your channel sometime in 2018, and you talked about your PDF, and I think you said something to the effect that if anyone wants a copy, I'll send you an email, which I did, and then you sent me the PDF.
Yeah.
So I kind of read your book in its rough draft, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing about that book, I was willing to give it away. And as you'll learn, the free means nothing. I sent that out to probably certainly 300 people, and I bet you 30 read it. And now that it's a book, well over almost 20,000 people have read it. So it's amazing what happens when it goes from free to $15.
Right, it is. It is. That's cool though, because I remember when I read your book, I learned from it because I was still very early in my real estate investing career, and with your book, with your channel, and there was some other channels, then I got the ideas of cashback refinances, 401k loans. If market's hot, maybe sell one property to take the profit to move it into multiple rentals.
Yeah, 1031 exchange. Yeah.
Yep. Well, if you may not remember when you interviewed me on your channel, I think it was December of 2018, and you gave me a piece of advice then about potentially doing a 1031 exchange by selling one and rolling into more. Because what I did, I listened to that, and I took that one house and I turned it into 4 more. And then the following year, I did 2 cashback refinances where I turned that into 9 more houses.
That's amazing. I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad the advice worked out.
Well, it did. And as you know, you never know how your channel can impact anyone, any other investor out there. I know you have a goal of, go ahead and say your goal of helping how many people?
Yeah, I've finally gotten comfortable with it. I've been goal driven my whole life, but I've operated on yearly goals, right? So they always had to be achievable. I now gotten comfortable saying I'm going to help 1 million people over the rest of my life. I want to help 1 million people. So I have this thing that I've been doing for about a year, right? When people close a deal, I send them a card, says, congratulations, 1 of 500. And when people get here, I think we're at like 420 now. I'm going to cut a big check to a food bank because food security is a big deal for me, and do something crazy like dye my hair purple. But this goal of 500 has led me to say, now we're going to help 1 million people. And I realize it may take decades. It's okay. I plan to live at least another 50 years. So I'm okay. I'm now comfortable with it. Every day I wake up, I have conversations like this to try to help 1 or 2 more people. And if I know this much, I can help 10,000. However, I believe in the network effect. And I believe if we continue to do good work, we continue to say what we're doing, the 10,000 people I can help, 5,000 each or 4,000 or whatever. And it's the network effect that's going to get us to 1 million. So I'm very confident we will get there. I think we will get there faster than I expect, but every day is one more step on that journey.
Right. I agree with what you're saying. And because you've helped me along the way. And when I started my YouTube channel, I was in part doing what you did because I was like, if Mike can do it, why can't I do it?
Yeah.
So, but then you figure if I've learned from you, those that I help through my channel are also learning from you. So it's exponential.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And as you may remember, it was in 2019, I think, I sent you an email telling you I was thinking about using a turnkey operator.
Mm-hmm.
And what did you think of this turnkey operator? And you replied to me saying, well, instead of this one, I had met this gentleman named Tom Olson, and maybe I could introduce you to him.
Mm-hmm.
And you did introduce me to Tom. You sent an email to both of us. And that has led to me finding a new market, which I've talked about on my channel, which is up in Northwest Indiana. And I bought, altogether, I've gotten, I think, 7 properties from Tom. But I've used those connections to make more connections, to get more properties. But better than that, myself and another young man, we started a mastermind group. And there's now, I think, 14 people in that group who are all buying properties in Northwest Indiana. And they've told friends about it. And that all leads back to you and I talking and you introducing me to Tom Olson. So I've said this publicly before, but Michael, thank you so much.
That's really nice to hear. That is the network effect. That is what I'm counting on. But again, first off, thank you. But let's be very clear. I try to help people all the time. It's only the people that do the work. You did the work. You made the relationships. You've networked. So congratulations to you. Thank you for doing it. Lots of people hear this and do nothing. Lots of people hear this and they look for the next video and do nothing. That does not excite. I do not give a rat's tail about clicks. I am doing all of this to create action. I don't know what's going to be your thing to get you off the couch to do something, but when you take effort and you do work and discipline and not focus, amazing things can happen. So congratulations to you.
All right. Well, thank you so much with that. And I agree, I've talked to a lot of people on my channel. I've talked to people that I've met out in the grocery store or out and about. And usually people like shake their head, oh, I'm interested in investing. But it's very rare that someone actually follows through and takes that first step and takes action.
Oh, great. That's why you deserve all your success. Congratulations.
All right. Well, thank you. And you're the same, congratulations to your success.
Thank you.
So, all right, cool. All right. And we have a mutual friend that you introduced me to, which is Millennial Mike, because you've talked to him quite a few times on your channel. Mm-hmm. And Millennial Mike, he's also helping other young folks that he's met who are now investing in Northwest Indiana.
Awesome.
So that exponential growth is just continuing.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. All right. Well, cool. Well, we can wrap this up in a couple minutes, but like I do with all my guests, and I learned this from you from a couple years ago, is how about if I give you the last word where you can talk about anything at all you want to say?
Okay. Thank you very much for that. What I want everybody to realize, and what really is a motivation for me, is a couple of things. First and foremost, it's possible. If you do the work, you have the daily discipline, it is absolutely possible. I believe the number one thing is focus. I believe too many people are unfocused. They say they want to do real estate investing. For me, that focus starts with a very simple concept of a buy box. Get a very, very tight buy box and look at that buy box every single day. And all you have to do is you have to figure out what an average deal is in that buy box. And once you know average, the world's your oyster. You only do good or great deals. It takes effort. It takes 60, 75, 90 days to figure out average, but it's worth it. And I looked at my buy box, which is a very, very small part of the Fresno market, for 2.5 years. Fresno's big. It's 1 million people. I looked at this much of the market for 3 years. And most people don't believe in focus. They want to be all over the board. I want to be here and be here and be here and be here. Focus. And then again, follow channels like this because again, it's just a great daily reminder of what is possible. So great work.
All right. Sounds good, Mike. I appreciate this. And, I'm helping a small group of people, which hopefully over time that'll grow to be larger. You're helping a larger group, which should continue to grow even larger as time goes on. And then others like Millennial Mike, he's in between you and I with his channel, but he's helping folks. And exponentially, you put us all together, and those numbers are going to keep growing with the amount of people that we can reach.
I hope so.
So I hope so too. All right. Well, sounds good. Well, I'm going to stop recording in a minute. If you can, just stay connected. We'll chat a little bit.
No problem.
So, all right. Sounds good. Well, audience, thank you so much for watching. I'm sure all of you have heard about Michael Zuber and the One Rental at a Time YouTube channel. But if you haven't, I'll put a link in the description. Be sure to check out Mike's channel. So for Mike and myself, thank you so much for watching, and we will sign off and talk to you later. See you now.